We did have a lot of COVID-19 stoppages last year. I would say they really started in when we shut down our automotive industry in the US from, I would say, late March to mid-May for 6, 7 weeks there. And as we restarted, things were okay. But then in the summer, we had factories, individual factories, suppliers that would go down with a COVID outbreak. So, and that really happened through maybe October, I would say, for 4 or 5 months. We had a lot of those. We haven't had many lately, the last 3 months. I think most people have gotten through that. So that was a factor. The other issue is we had a little bit of a steel issue. A lot of the big steel furnaces in North America went down in the spring when we shut down our industry, and so the steel companies were struggling to keep up before anything about the chip crisis hit. So those were the two big constraints that were starting. But really, the main crisis now is the chip crisis. That's all anybody's talking about here in Detroit. Is I just read an article in Automotive News this morning that we had lost over 200,000 vehicles already in the first 10 days of the year, just in the first 2 weeks for production because of the lack of chips. Right now, the difficulty is, unlike other components where we can work weekends or overtime and make more, the lead time on these chips is, I've been told, about a few months, 3 to 4 months, 16 to 20 weeks. So the difficulty is we can't just work really hard and catch up or fill the pipeline. I've been told it's going to be at least the entire first quarter, and this may last until May. So there's not a lot we can do. What the big issue right now is allocating, meaning you only have so many chips. You have to decide which parts you're going to make, and ultimately the car makers are deciding which cars they want to make and which cars they're going to stop making. And you've seen some of the headlines that some of the OEMs have already shut down a lot of plants, and they tend to be for the smaller vehicles they don't make as much money on, of course, and they're trying to allocate the chips towards the bigger vehicles where they make more profit. We don't represent auto manufacturers. We represent tier one and tier two suppliers. So just because of the way professional ethics rules work, as a law firm, you either kind of have to decide whether you're going to be an OEM lawyer and represent Toyota, GM, etc., or you're going to represent suppliers. We decided a long time ago to represent suppliers. So the companies that we represent manufacture the parts that go into the cars, and they use a lot of chips to assemble all kinds of things, interior assembly, steering, brakes, you name it, right? I mean, anywhere in the vehicle. So they actually are running out of chips from their lower tier suppliers. And then, of course, they can't supply the bigger assemblies to the OEMs. But yes, the phone started ringing right before Christmas. I was talking to many clients over the holidays, and a lot of them didn't really even realize it till we got back on the January 4th or 5th that, we got a big problem. Now everybody knows, right? I mean, now everybody's reading the headlines and saying, wait a minute, we've got a huge problem here. I'm a lawyer, we can enforce contracts, but at the end of the day, this is an industry-wide issue, and everyone, I think, is going to be slowed down by it. Usually here in the US, we have what we call requirements contracts. And a requirements contract means that you have to make as many as we need. So you are promised, even though we all know automotive volumes go up and down, they vary, right? Because of sales. Sometimes consumers like a certain vehicle or they don't like another vehicle, and they just go up and down over time. But the suppliers usually promise to make the requirements that the customer needs, even through those ups and downs. And right now what's happening is some of the chip makers are saying, we can't meet your requirements because we can't get enough wafer. Because we can't get enough wafer, we can't make enough chips. And that's the big issue. That's the big legal issue right now that I see in the automotive industry. There's not a legal solution, I'll tell you that. And I've been told there's not a manufacturing solution for several months. Long term, they're capitalizing to expand capacity, and they're hoping by mid-year they can catch up. But I don't think there's a legal solution in the short term, And I actually don't even think there's a business solution that in the short term. I think we're just going to be short for a few months, and we're going to have to make do with the few that we have. There's absolute scarcity right now. I mean, I think it's a worldwide chip shortage. The information that I've received is that a lot of it has to do with the subwafer that goes into the chip. That's actually the shortage. It's not that the chip makers can't make enough chips, it's they can't get enough wafer. I certainly didn't realize there's only a few of them. There's not very many. A few of these foundries that make the wafers for the chips. You'd think there'd be 30 or 40. Well, there's 4 or 5. And when they get overburdened, and they were really committed, I think, to make laptops and video games and all these mobile phones, there just wasn't enough capacity to keep up with everything. That's what I've been told anyway.